the Rangers Journal Night.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your Rangers Journal post-match briefing after Barry Ferguson's basket case Bilbao-bound Bears take a pit stop at Pittodrie as Rangers put us through the ringer following a 2-2 dramatic game up in the northeast. Joining me to go through what was an eventful game is first of all the marathon man, Cammy. Cammy, how you doing, my man?
I'm good. I was obviously on the pre-match with Mitch, and I'll claim credit for a 2-2 pre-match prediction. Didn't quite pan out the way I expected, but yeah, it was eventful. Nothing new, nothing that we didn't already know about this Rangers side. But credit to them that they've managed to somehow get a 2-2 at the end of it.
Absolutely. And Billy, how you doing, my man?
Good, yeah. I mean, like echo what Cammy was saying there, and this was a really different side today. You don't need to check the record books to see if they've ever played before, but they did the same thing that the Rangers have been doing all season. They react rather than actually go out and take a game with the scruff of the neck. I wonder if part of the pre-match warm-up should be lining us up and putting us 2-0 down before kick-off, and then going, right, lads, you're 2-0 down, go, because that seems to be when we start playing.
I think so as well. That and the Europa League music, we just need to play that all the time.
Exactly.
And of course, it's the magnificent Mitch. Mitch, how we doing, pal?
Always a pleasure, never a chore. And also I get Cammy twice in one day. It's like Christmas.
I'm surprised you can say that's a chore after what we've just been put through. Gentlemen, so obviously the game started probably kind of 50-50. I think we were really under the cosh. The team, as discussed in the pre-match, was a little bit unusual, as I think to say the least. But you could clearly see that Barry Ferguson's got Thursday as a priority. Cammy, did you think that the back three of Fernandes, Proper, and Nsiala was a little bit unconvincing, to say the least?
I think, to be honest, I'm expecting more for Proper. To be honest with you, he's the experienced guy. He just continues to be unconvincing. Fernandes has had barely any minutes, so it's unsurprising that he picks up a muscle injury. I mean, what are we? The 13th of April. He's probably not kicked a ball in about 2-3 months, so that's no surprise. Nsiala, we just looked a bit all over the place, and Aberdeen had a few early opportunities, but the back three, when we looked at the team, that looked as though that's what we were going to go for, and the concerns were going to be over who was playing in the wide areas, which we'll obviously come on to. But it was very much, it felt like 11 players. I said this in the pre-match. It looked as though 11 names had been thrown at a dartboard, and it was just you play where you land sort of thing. And I thought that sums up the first half. I thought we were a bit of a disorganised mess defensively and middle to front, to be honest with you.
Absolutely, I think so. Billy, Cammy pointed on something there. We're talking about the kind of fullbacks. We did actually have two youth academy graduates playing as essentially wing backs. We had Ross McCausland playing on the right and young Finlay Curtis, who's obviously been very highly touted within the academy, playing at essentially left wing back. And I think there was a bit of a conflicting game for both of them. I thought that Finlay Curtis looked quite composed, quite calm, seemed to know more of what he's doing, whereas Ross McCausland, as we'll get on to, had an absolutely torrid time with Keskinine and even Graham Shinney on the right hand side.
I mean, I think Curtis looked good relative to McCausland. I've had this because like Graham Shinney looked like Messi in the corner at times. He was like knitting past people, he was skinning people. Not exactly what you associate with Graham Shinney. And I've had this like issue for a while. And I think lots of people have talked about it, including the managers, that our youth team products come out of the academy with almost no positional awareness off the ball. And I understand why. I understand in Scotland, they're among the best of the best that don't go to England. So they end up dominating the ball a lot of the time in the matches coming through. But you see them come in at this level and their positional sense that, that in football now is as much what you do without the ball as with it. I looked at that and immediately thought, that's especially for McCausland, because to me, you put him in a game in a sort of semi-defensive position where you're expecting to dominate. I thought we were going to be up against it with that lineup at Pittodrie today. So I wasn't totally surprised. It is a worry, he doesn't have that sort of defensive side to his game. But you're seeing it. I mean, they said the same thing about Bailey Rice. Even Barry Ferguson and Clement both said the same thing about Bailey Rice. He's great on the ball. He lacks positional sense. That's got to be systemic. It's got to be something we're not doing for youth players coming through, and whether maybe farming them out for a season to low league teams that are actually getting pummeled might not do them any harm. I don't know, because they're coming in, and at this level, you see what happens. We said that the back three looked unconvincing. I thought the back three and back five looked unconvincing on paper. You kind of looked at that and sucked your cheeks and thought, and that's how it turned out. Let's say Curtis did all right, but he gets skinned a couple of times as well. I don't think he had a great game, but I think relative to Ross, I think he looked all right.
Mitch, just on that, we'll obviously go in a little bit deeper of it. Ross McCausland has obviously been getting a lot of stick today for some of his decision making. Do you think he was maybe having a little bit of a more difficult job to do than he should have been, considering he was playing as a right wing back and he was also playing as almost cover for Fernandes, who obviously up until he goes off, hasn't, as Cammy says, hasn't played. So do you think it's perhaps been a little bit unfair on him up to that point?
I think objectively, and I'm trying to phrase this in the nicest way that I can, he was guilty of doing too much and not enough at the same time. I think he was trying to make the most of the minutes that he had in the pitch today, because it's the first time in a long time he's been given the jersey to start with. And I think he was maybe guilty of trying to show out a bit too much, and that led to some trying to stick those meaty tackles in to make it look like he was there for the fight, up for the fight, and do too much. But the minute he got given the first card, to lay in the same tackle basically for the second yellow was the height of stupidity. And you have to make much better decisions as a professional footballer, regardless of who you play for. You can't go in there with the rush of blood head moments, when you're already on a yellow card, because you're given the referee every reason to turn around and say, I tell you what, son, your race is done. And I think one of the things that maybe Barry got wrong today was potentially not having Tav in the back line. And it's going to, I'm not by any means happy clapping Tav here, but, I think Tav would have given Ross maybe a bit more vocal direction of, it's fine, stay in your channel, I'll stay in mine. And he wouldn't have maybe, if Tav was in the back there, would McCausland have to have put that tackle in? Probably not. But again, none of us have got a crystal ball underneath our desk as far as I'm aware. It's the great unknown. But I do think he was guilty of doing too much and not enough, because when you do too much, the chances are you're not going to do enough of the right things. And I think that's what we've seen there. It came back to bite Ross and McCausland in the backside tenfold.
Yeah, I think we'd all agree there that he wasn't learning. He knew that he was getting the beating. We're saying that Keskin on the left was getting the beating of him, and then once he get booked, then like I say, it almost seemed like a matter of time that something was going to happen. Cammy, do you think that's more on, even at that point when he's lost? Do you think it's maybe more on a little bit on Barry Ferguson, that he perhaps should have just pulled him before the inevitable? I think at that point a lot of it could have went, you'll be lucky to make it to half time here.
I think possibly, but you've got the situation with Fernandes. You're looking at the bench. You're not wanting to obviously play Suter. You're wanting to limit the time that Tav's going to play. I can't be too critical of the manager. I think he's made his team selection. He was quite confident in his pre-match interview. So I wouldn't be too critical. I think it's a time in the first half where it was just like, I think I said pre-match, don't do anything silly early on. And we didn't really do anything silly. Aberdeen missed a few chances, but I always thought we just had to score the first goal in the game. And then when when they obviously score, it's hard. But like, I wouldn't be too critical of Barry, but it's he's. I don't envy the job that he's got with this collection, to be honest with you.
Well, obviously, Billy, the first goal comes from a free kick from the first McCausland foul that he gets booked for. It's a decent free kick by Clarkson. He does have ability. He's a good attacking footballer. Liam Kelly does get a hand to it, but I think I did see some people criticising Liam Kelly. Do you think that's maybe a little bit unfair, considering I actually thought for the rest of the game he was really, really convincing. He was, especially in the second half, he was coming out, collecting corners, holding them, which I know something we've been very critical of Jack Butland about over the last few weeks. I thought Kelly was actually really, really convincing.
I think this is the trade-off you get. I thought he was at fault for the free kick. He seemed slow to move, and there's one angle from behind the goal. Now, it might be slightly unsighted, but he looks half a beat off of starting to move. You see him sort of moving on his toes, and he seems to start moving quite late. He gets a hand in it, but I feel like if he'd been moving earlier, he would have got a strong enough hand on it. So my gut instinct that I think Jack Butland saves that, but we all knew that was the trade-off. Like, Jack Butland's bigger, he's got a bigger frame, and he'll probably make those sorts of saves that Kelly won't. But like you said, across the rest of the game, like, he looked pretty good. He's coming for the ball. I'd put that one down as a minor mistake, but I still think Butland would have saved it. The question is, the way Butland's playing just now, would we have been a goal down, or would he have done, thrown one in before then? So I think we just have to bite it. If this is what we want Liam Kelly, we're going to have to accept that sometimes we're going to go, Butland would have saved that. Because we can't make some sort of magical hybrid of both of them. It's either take the downside of Jack Butland, which are massive at the moment, or take the slight downside of Liam Kelly. And I mean, in all fairness, by then I think we could have already been 1-0 down, because Shaden Morris went in with a lovely bit of skill, and like, I think Kelly did reasonably well to narrow the angle for that one. But I still think Aberdeen striker, having done the hard bit, could have put us a goal down already. So yeah, it was disappointing, and there is that bit of me going, Butland would have saved that, but I'd still rather have Kelly in for now, just because I think Butland, apart from anything else, we all need to give Butland a wee bit of breathing space, so when he comes back in, he's not under the microscope.
Definitely. Cammy, you want to come back in now?
It was just, they spoke about it in the commentary. It was very similar to the goal James Maddison scored, and I'm sure it was Alan McGregor that he scored it past back in, I think it was the early Gerrard era, and it was similar from, I thought at the time, the goalie's too far across to his left-hand side, and if I think back to Alan McGregor being beaten by James Maddison all the years ago, it was the same situation. I think if the keeper's one step to his right, he saves it, regardless of who the goalkeeper is. I just think the positioning is slightly out. Whether that's Alan McGregor, Jack Butland, you look at the Arsenal-Real Madrid game the other night, the first free kick that Declan Rice scores, I think Courtois is one step too far across. If he's one step across, I think he probably gets to it. So it's a positional thing. I disagree with Billy. I don't think Butland saves it, because I think he probably makes the same positional mistake. He probably gets his hand to it and does similar. But it's and I thought we're up against it. You lose the first goal. You've got a shadow team. Their tails are going to be up. I expected far more from Aberdeen. I expected them to be more 100 mile an hour in the early stages of the game to try to score early. But it was just to basically say it's a goal that we've seen before in Aberdeen Rangers games.
Definitely. It was actually West Foderingham that was in goal that time, but we've also conceded one that was similar from Duke on the other side, but it's McGregor again standing to the wrong side. So it's a goal we've conceded several times, and I actually think we go down to 10 men. Obviously, Ross McCausland gets sent off for the silly challenge that we've discussed. Aberdeen score again. At that point, they were starting to really get joy down both of the flanks. Ball comes across. Their man marking is shambolic. I think Proper's a disgrace. Tavernier's pointing before the ball's even crossed the line. Tavernier standing pointing at other people, and it's just another defensive disaster class, to be honest with you. Mitch, how do you defend it? We can't defend it. That's the problem.
Do you know, it's a problem we've seen time and time again this season. And I genuinely don't think Robin Propper's a bad defender. He's just a defender that I don't think's naturally suited to our league. I think in Holland, you're given a bit more respect on the ball and a bit more time on the ball and a bit more time to think. And I think had Propper moved here maybe 10 years ago, this is something that could have been coached into him, no bother, but now that he's now in the peak years of his career as a defender, but he's also had 12 years in the backside of that since going pro to learn certain habits that when you move to a new league and later in your career, it's hard to unlearn those habits that you've learned over a career. And I think that's potentially part of the problem. But I think because watch him, in the summer he'll go back to Holland and he'll go back to being quite well sought after. There's a reason why there's apparently 4 or 5 teams in Holland that want Robin Propper back in the summer, and I think it'll not be an issue to shift him for the same money that we brought him for. But I think again he always seems to be very quick to blame others around him rather than putting 2 hands up and saying, "Do you know what, balls, that my mistake." And I think as an experienced defender at the back, you've seen it. Tav was shouting at Robin Propper, shouting at him, letting him know that was your man that got away from you. Meanwhile, Robin Propper's trying to point the finger of the blame to the 20-year-old boy in beside him, and you're like, NCL for my money had a pretty decent game, and you can't. I struggle to say that, when you're in a defence that's conceded 2, but neither of the 2 goals were the fault of the young boy at the back.
No, I completely agree with you. So at that point, obviously, yet again, we're in this stage where we're 2-0 down, and unfortunately this time we don't have 11 men in the park, and it's one of those things. Barry Ferguson keeps talking about character, and the second half, obviously, we come out and we actually start on the front foot. We get a goal. I think it's about 47 or 48 minutes through Egerman. It's just Route 1 football. He gets the touch. When it comes off, it looks magnificent. Sometimes in the game, it didn't come off for him. But I think a lot today, Egerman actually did hold the ball up quite well. He gets the break of the ball, pulls it onto his left and sticks it away. And that's probably the best way you can start the second half.
Egerman, for me, he's a centre forward. That's where he'll cause most danger. I mean, just to go back, you're talking about we were playing with 10 men. Yeah, we were down to 10 men, but we were playing with about 6, to be perfectly honest with you. Cortez looked at a guy that hasn't played a lot of football. Danilo, miles off it. Bayrami playing alongside Barron. I said before the game that Connor Barron would have a job on because there's no really anybody around about him to help. Bayrami improved when we made the changes at half time, and I think that helped. The shape looked better in the second half. Bayrami's best form or better form for Rangers has been off the left hand side. But to go back to Egerman, he plays as a centre forward for me, or he doesn't play at all. I just don't think you see the best of him coming off the left hand side. He's the best player it's very Morelos, that sort of can hold the ball in well. And I mean, I think they said in the commentary that's 15, 16 goals I think he's got for the season. By the time we get to Bilbao for the Europa League final, he'll probably be on 20. So it's I would just love Egerman to start on Thursday night and in that position, because I think he could cause Bilbao more. It's not a criticism of Dessers, but I just think in the type of game that we're going to face, I think he would be better on Thursday night. But it was just what we wanted, and I think McFadden said it in the commentary: score the next goal, and that's what we did. But it was pleased for Finlay Curtis to get a wee nick on the ball and the assist as well. That's he'll claim that in his assist stats, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I think at this point, statistics is all we can collect at this point. Billy, obviously, Eagleman, we end up changing the shape, and we're starting to see actually a little bit more of, we actually look like we know what we're doing. We look like we've played with each other. Bajrami plays off the left. He looks better. He actually thought he was played really well. He got the number 18 booked and was continuing to run at him. I actually thought that was quite good, game management from us, that we were targeting weak points in the team. Barron and Diamande kind of are more naturally, central midfielders. Finlay Curtis was playing on the right. Eagleman obviously was having to play as a sole striker. But, we were starting to kind of come into the game a little bit more. It wasn't great, and I think we were still really suspect on the break, which we knew was going to happen. We did have the back four, which was a little bit more settled when Jeff to come on as well. Do you think at that point, Barry Ferguson he's obviously just looked at it and went, at this point, just try and, work hard, keep the passes, because we were still really, really sloppy at times. I thought in the midfield we were really bad at, doing the hard part of getting away and then just routinely giving the ball away.
To me, it seemed early in the second half like we were almost like bypassing midfield. A lot of the time we were just shelling it up to Eagleman, and he made that chance, and that's why he'll play at a higher level, because he can do stuff like that when he's got three defenders around him, and any other striker would be looking for someone to lay it off to. But yeah, I thought we were. I thought we came into the game more in the second half of the second half. I thought the first 15 or 20 minutes, I thought Aberdeen, Keskinen should have scored the third in the 61st minute. Nisbet should have scored the third in the 62nd minute, and I think they had another. They should have scored another one about 10 minutes later. So we were in it, but the game could have been dead if they'd been more clinical. And Aberdeen weren't great in the second half, but they were still making chances, and really good chances. They'd taken one of those, and I think the game's dead. So I thought, I'll be honest, I thought we were a wee bit, let's say, lucky. That's a ball up to Eagleman that really shouldn't. It's an assist technically, but that shouldn't result in a goal. So yeah, I thought we were kind of a wee bit lucky to still be in it coming into the third quarter, but we did play our way into it. That was the weird thing, is especially when we brought on Dessers and Hadji, it seemed like the game just moved up into Aberdeen's final third, and I don't know if that's part of them getting tired or us, just pushing on a bit more. It was just a weird game. I thought, if I'm Aberdeen fan, horrible thought that would be like, you're 3-1, 4-1 up before we get to the final 10-15 minutes. So I'm not sure it's a game you can take an awful lot out from. Maybe a little bits and pieces about individual players, but like in terms of like shape and strategy, I think that it was kind of winging it in the second half a wee bit.
I think we were as well. Mitch, one thing we can take out of it is that, believe it or not, the referee does know how to apply the handball rule. Because when Kevin Nisbet scores a third with, I think there's maybe 5 minutes to go, there's a break in the ball. Obviously, Aberdeen went it in the left-hand side. The ball comes in. There's a bit of ricochet, hits off Kevin Nisbet's hand, and he puts it away. At first, it's, the goal's given. We're all like, okay. Once you see the replays, you're like, oh, that could be a handball. But, it's Scottish referees. We know that they don't always know exactly how to apply the rules unless it's in favour of another team. So, it's one of those ones. It's probably a little bit of a, that's obviously what Billy's talking about. You get the chance that kills the game. They could have had it before that. That's the one that probably should have killed the game. But, you apply the rules. I know it sounds really silly, but you apply the rules and, we take advantage of it.
I think, in all honesty, the game was refereed pretty well today. In terms of there's none of us are sitting here today scratching our heads going, that call, this call, that call, game-changing calls were wrong. And I think actually one thing the referee did really well was actually speaking to the VAR and speaking to his assistants as well. If in doubt, again, prime example of that was the goal that we got chalked off just before half time. The referee spoke to his assistant, triple checked it with VAR. The ball did go out, because we've seen it in the reverse angle on Sky. The full of the ball did go out. And I think the referee actually got the vast majority of it right. There's always going to be, I would call it, the nonsense decisions in the middle of, a foul here, is that really a foul? Is that a foul? Is it not? Like, by and large, he got it right, and he got, and I will say, he had no time for a lot of the Aberdeen players, how should we say, play acting. of, I look at particular, was it when Scholar came on, kidding on that he got slapped in the face, when actually it was he got clipped round the side of the ear when Barron jumped for the ball. He's rolling about the floor. The referees basically just looked at him and said, "No, get your ass up," as he should. I think it's the only thing that infuriates me with this team, and it's been a frustration all throughout the season. Me and Cammy have spoke about it in other pods as well. Like, it's this constant putting ourselves in these positions that we have to keep doing the great escape and the great comebacks. Like, just stop putting ourselves in that position in the first place. Close the shop up at the back and give ourselves at least a platform to build from. And I actually think, arguably, we played better with 10 men than we did with 11.
Absolutely, it's very reminiscent of the early Gerrard era when Morelos was getting sent off every other week, and we were just that used to playing with 10 men. We had the formation, we knew how to play it. Cammy, probably we think this is the week that we're not going to get the get out of jail card. How many times have we said this since Barry Ferguson's come in, that we're 2 down and we're down to 10 men, blah blah blah, we don't get away with it, and we seem to just pull a rabbit out of our backsides again. A great ball over the top by, I think it's Hadji, who actually puts the ball over the top to the big man, Mitch's man, Cyril Dessers, who rattles it off the post. He's actually really unlucky, because if he sticks that away, it's a sensational goal. He is unlucky, but it bounces back, comes out to, I believe it's Jeffrey on the left-hand side, plays the ball inside, and Yanis Hadji with an absolutely top tier finish. It's in a game that actually had a few top quality goals. That's the pick of them all.
Aye, and all the Aberdeen fans are spewing because they think they've got 3 points. They've got to sell back into third place. 95th minute, 96th minute, whatever it was. I was calling for Scott Arfield at that point to come on and give us a couple of goals like he did a couple of years ago. But it's a lovely goal. Don't see enough of that from Hadji. We haven't seen enough of that across his Rangers career for various reasons. But beautiful goal. I think Dessers should score, to be honest with you. Just on my gut reaction, I would need to watch it back. But he obviously, we get fortunate. Jeffrey plays it back, and Hadji sticks it in the top corner. So yeah, delighted that we've managed to somehow get a point. Doesn't mean anything, but the main thing I take out of it is it's going to impact Aberdeen in their fight for third place. And Barry, the one thing that Barry has managed to do is get a reaction in these sort of games. I don't think under the previous manager, Kilmarnock, Dundee, there's been 3 or 4 games across the piece where we've had to come from behind. I don't think that happens under Philip Clement. So I think that's to the credit of Barry that he's managing to get that sort of reaction. But to be successful moving forward, that sort of thing can't continue. If we go into next season and we're having this same conversation a year from now, it's been another disaster. But pleased that we've got a point at the end of it.
Absolutely, I think that's all we can really ask for. Gentlemen, can I just trouble you if you could pick one for a man of the match, Cammy?
I'll go Egeman, just purely because I thought he was working on scraps sort of situation, and I thought he had our sort of brightest moments. I don't think we had an awful lot of creative. It's usually when Czerney's there, it's like give the ball to Czerney and just do something. Just cut in you're cut in on the left and stick it in the top corner. We don't have a lot, so I like Egeman. Billy references he'll go on to play at a higher level. You can see there's a player there. He just needs a bit of polish to get himself. But Egeman for me, I don't think there was a lot of candidates, to be perfectly honest with you, but I think he would be my top Rangers player this afternoon.
Very fair. Billy?
I can't disagree with Cammy there. I mean, you're not really looking at a game where any Rangers player was good for a prolonged period of time. So you're talking about moments, and that's the moment that gets us back in the game, because if you're Aberdeen 2-0 up against 10 men, you're thinking, I was thinking it's going to go 3 or 4 here, you're a man down, etc. And I think getting the goal that early in the second half, I think it gives them pause for thought. They start to get a wee bit nervy. They kind of, start second guessing themselves a bit. And it's out of nothing. He's got 3 defenders round him. And really, any other player in their team's not doing that. So I think just on the basis that was the start of the very slow, protracted fight back, it'd have to be Egaman.
Mitchell.
I think I've got a foot in 2 camps. I think Enciala was probably a candidate for it, as well as Agamani. Iggy probably for the importance of when he's cropped up with a goal, but equally Enciala in the second half laid in a couple of really good last-ditch block tackles, and again, it's kind of screaming at the fact that with it's the young players that that are the contenders there. It's the young guns. It's not the experienced heads in the team that we're talking about. It's gun to the head, I'd say Iggy, and again, it's probably just the importance of it. But Enciala, it's like a 51-49 split.
I think it's hard to agree with that. I think Egaman, he's got the moment that brings us back in. Enciala, I thought once he kind of understood the kind of game that we were having to deal with, I thought he dealt with it really well. He had a couple of good passes out as well, which is sometimes all you can ask for. But the last ditch defending is what you want. You don't get that for proper, I don't think, as well as you do for him. Just obviously we've got Thursday to look forward to. All the guys will be on all the socials breaking down today's game tomorrow and Wednesday, and then we've got to look forward to Thursday's massive game in Bilbao. We've still got something to play for this year. It's exciting. Today is just and we know it's delaying the inevitable, but we'll press on to Thursday. Obviously, if you like what you see, just please make sure to give us a follow, a like on all your socials, and also a big shout out as well to Off to the Match I Go, our sponsors here at the Rangers Journal. Just once again, I just want to thank my co-host, first of all, Cammy.
Aye, cheers. Can I just put out a shout for anybody that's watching that's in Manchester who knows somewhere that I'll be able to watch the game on Thursday night against Atletico Bilbao. Not going to be easy. I'm staying a mile from Old Trafford. Man United are playing Lyon. Most of the places are going to have the Man United game on. So if there's anybody watching that's able to throw me a place that's going to be able to watch, that I'm going to be able to watch it, it would be much appreciated. But yeah, big week ahead for the Rangers, big week for myself, running from Manchester to Liverpool on Friday morning, 50 miles. So I won't be on any podcasts for a few days after that to recover. But yeah, always good talking about the Rangers, and thanks again, guys.
Billy,
Enjoy
thanks
those
a lot,
ice
Paul.
baths, Cammy.
Billy, thanks a lot, Paul.
No, cheers, and a lot more fun after that 95th minute equaliser than it was looking.
It always makes it a little bit better, doesn't it? Just takes the sting off at you. But Mitch, pleasure. Always
a pleasure, mate. Never a chore.
Thank you so much to everybody for listening, for your comments, your questions. Like I say, the guys will be back during the week to look back on this game in more depth and preview the Bilbao game. Just say again, follow us on the socials if you like us. Give us likes, subscribes, and remember that every night is your Rangers Journal night. Take care, guys. Thank you.